On one morning in 1810, a quiet house on a respectable London street was buried beneath an avalanche of chaos. Coal wagons, cakes, doctors, and even royalty all arrived at once. None of them had been invited. They had all been summoned by letter by a single mischievous man who watched it all unfold from across the street. It all began with a simple bet, and it became perhaps the greatest practical joke ever pulled. This is the story of the Berners Street hoax. Welcome to Curio Hour, where we uncover the strange, the unsolved, and the unforgettable. Today's story, the Berners Street hoax. Our story takes place in London in the year 1810. It was the height of the Georgian era, a time of elegance, manners, and rigid social order. It was also a city that loved a good joke. And at the center of our tale is one of the most famous tricksters of the age, a man named Theodore Hook. Hook was a writer, a composer, and above all, a wit. He was famous in London society for his cleverness, his charm, and his absolute love of mischief. He was a notorious practical joker, always looking for the next prank, the next opportunity to create a bit of harmless chaos and amusement. One day, Hook was walking through London with a friend, passing along a perfectly ordinary, respectable road called Berners Street. They passed a particular house, number 54 Berners Street, the quiet, unremarkable home of a respectable widow named Mrs. Tottenham. It was an utterly ordinary house, no different from its neighbors. And that perhaps is exactly what gave Theodore Hook his outrageous idea. Hook turned to his friend and made a bold wager. He bet that within 1 week, he could transform this completely ordinary house into the most talked-about address in all of London. His friend, perhaps doubting that such a thing was possible, took the bet. And so Theodore Hook set to work on his masterpiece of mischief. His method was simple, but the scale of it was staggering. He would use the one tool that could command armies of people without ever showing his face: the letter. In the weeks that followed, Hook, reportedly with the help of a few friends, sat down and began to write. And write, and write. By some accounts, they wrote thousands of letters. Each one was addressed in the name of Mrs. Tottenham, requesting a visit, a delivery, or a service at 54 Berners Street. Each letter was carefully timed, requesting that the visitor arrive on the very same day, the 9th of November, and many at around the same hour. Hook wrote to merchants, tradesmen, professionals, and officials all across the city. He cast his net astonishingly wide. And then the letters were sent. The trap was set. All Theodore Hook had to do was find a good seat and wait for the appointed morning. Cleverly, Hook is said to have rented a room in the house directly across the street so that he and his friends could watch the entire spectacle unfold in comfort. And on the morning of the 9th of November, 1810, the chaos began. It started, fittingly, with something small. First to arrive was a chimney sweep who knocked on the door of 54 Berners Street, saying he had been called to clean the chimneys. Mrs. Tottenham's servants were confused. They had called for no sweep. They sent him away. But no sooner had he gone than another sweep arrived, saying the same thing. And then another. And then another. A dozen chimney sweeps, all certain they had been summoned to the same address. And this was only the beginning of the flood. Next came the deliveries. Carts began to rumble up to the house, one after another, each carrying goods that had been urgently ordered. Wagons of coal arrived to be unloaded. Then came carts loaded with furniture. Then deliveries of cakes and pastries, ordered from bakeries all over the city. Wedding cakes, vast and elaborate, were carried to the door. Pianos and organs were hauled up the street by struggling delivery men. Crates of wine arrived. Hairdressers came to style hair. Doctors and surgeons hurried to the house, each believing they had been called to treat a dying patient. Lawyers came to draw up wills. Clergymen arrived to comfort the supposedly dying. Undertakers turned up, ready to measure a body for a coffin that did not exist. Every kind of tradesman and professional in London seemed to be converging on a single front door, all at once, all utterly bewildered. And the street itself began to clog. With so many carts, wagons, and people pouring in, Berners Street ground to a complete standstill. The traffic jam grew enormous. Carts could not get in, and they could not get out. Drivers shouted, horses reared, and goods were piled everywhere in the confusion. Crowds of curious onlookers gathered to see what on earth was happening, which only made the congestion worse. The whole neighborhood descended into glorious chaos. Inside the house, poor Mrs. Tottenham and her servants were overwhelmed, desperately trying to turn away the endless stream of confused and increasingly angry callers. And across the street, Theodore Hook and his friends watched it all, no doubt struggling to contain their laughter at the spectacle they had created. The authorities were eventually called to try and restore order. But the prank had one final, audacious flourish still to come. Hook had not only summoned tradesmen, he had aimed far higher. He had sent letters to some of the most important people in the entire country. And so, into this scene of total chaos, grand carriages began to arrive, carrying dignitaries of the highest rank. It is said that important officials of the city arrived, expecting urgent business. And then came figures of truly national importance. By some accounts, the governor of the Bank of England himself turned up. The head of the city's legal establishment arrived. Even a royal duke is said to have appeared. These were some of the most powerful men in the land, drawn to a modest house on Berners Street by clever, forged letters, only to find a riot of cakes, coal, and confusion. It was the perfect, outrageous climax to the whole affair. The high and the low of London society, all tangled together in one absurd, unforgettable traffic jam. The chaos lasted for the better part of a day before the deliveries finally slowed and the street could be cleared. The Berners Street hoax was complete. In the aftermath, all of London was talking about it. Theodore Hook had won his bet spectacularly. Number 54 Berners Street was, without question, the most famous address in the city. The newspapers were full of the story. People marveled at the sheer scale and audacity of the prank. Who could possibly have organized such a thing? Suspicion naturally fell on Theodore Hook, who was known for exactly this kind of mischief. But there was a problem. There was no real proof. The letters were forged and could not easily be traced back to him. And so, although everyone suspected Hook, he was never actually charged or punished for the hoax. It is said that Hook lay low for a little while afterward, perhaps taking a short trip out of the city until the fuss died down. But he got away with it completely. Mrs. Tottenham, the innocent victim of the whole affair, was left to recover from a very strange and stressful day, an unwilling star of London's biggest prank. History does not record exactly what she made of it all, but one imagines she was not nearly as amused as the rest of the city. More than 2 centuries later, the Berners Street hoax is still remembered as one of the greatest practical jokes of all time, a masterpiece of mischief. It took no violence, no theft, and no real harm. Just a sharp wit, a great many letters, and a perfect understanding of how to turn an entire city upside down. All to win a simple bet. The story of how one man and a pile of letters created glorious chaos on a quiet London street. The Berners Street hoax.